Hello and welcome to another Mario Mondays. But as you can see, I crossed off Mario today because we're going to be taking a look at a Super Nintendo classic, Super Metroid. Now, Super Metroid is on the top of a lot of old-time gamers' top 10 lists of best Super Nintendo games. And it's there for a good reason. I would probably put it on number 4 on mine. It's a really great game. And this is coming from someone who hated the original Metroid and still does. And don't get me wrong, Nintendo has given me plenty of chances to try the original Metroid, having released it for free on the Metroid Prime disc, on Metroid Zero Mission, as well as the 3DS. So I've played that one plenty of times, still don't like it. To me, the original Metroid was a good opportunity to make a new type of game, but the NES just couldn't handle it. It was a game before its time, and because of that, rather than being this really great game, the NES limitations really hindered it, and it was a frustrating mess in my opinion. That is why I was so surprised that I actually enjoyed Super Metroid when I finally sat down and played it about 20 years ago. It was a great game. I eventually bought it on the Super Nintendo, and I upgraded to the Wii U version when Nintendo had it on sale for 30 cents. On the Wii U Virtual Console, it was a real steal. If you owned a Wii U back then and didn't pick this up for 30 cents, kick yourself. One of the best games ever made, and it's got plenty of copiers. Castlevania being one of its biggest copier, or I should say more accurately, Iga made Castlevania games being its biggest copier. It kind of redefined this 2D free exploration platformer, and it does everything right.
The galaxy is at peace.
Considering how this was back in the day before audio voice clips became the norm in games, just having that open up your game kind of was awesome. The game's story begins though with about 2 to 3 minutes of exposition as Samus explains her past missions, including the first one to Zebes where she destroyed a space pirate's base and the computer that controlled it, Mother Brain, from them using creatures called Metroids to pretty much wipe out all life in the galaxy. Second mission took her to the Metroid's home planet SR-388, where she killed all of them except a small larva, which she saw following her around like a child. Deciding it wasn't evil, she decided to take it with her and give it to some scientists. She leaves their space station only a few minutes later to be called back because it's under attack. She returns and starts exploring the station, where she finds all the scientists have been killed and that the Metroid is missing. After a little further investigating, she found out that her old friend Ridley is the one behind the whole mess. And after a short battle, he just leaves and the space station self-destruct timer starts. Samus, of course, hightails it out of there just in time and decides to go back to planet Zebes, where the space pirates have built a new fortress, to see if she can't track down the Metroid larva before the space pirates use it for evil means. From there's not much of a plot. It's basically explore the labyrinth, defeat 4 bosses, including Ridley, to gain access to the Taurine section, and beat the Mother Brain again. But the way the story is told is still interesting. While there's no dialogue or exposition, the music, the graphics really give this feel of urgency and isolation. So, for the most part, there's no story, but what's there is told pretty good and pretty uniquely. One of the ways it tells its story without dialogue is, for example, when you first start the game, you won't run into any enemies until you acquire 2 items that are ironically in the same area where the original Metroid begins and get scanned by these 2 cameras. Once you do, the base's security goes off, and then all of a sudden it's just filled with enemies out to destroy you. It's a great way to tell a story without any dialogue. The graphics in this game, if you can't tell, are gorgeous. The backgrounds are beautiful. Samus's suit is well rendered. There's a lot of animation. And for Nintendo to cram all this into one game, they had to make a special cartridge that included up to
24 megs.
Yeah, that's right, Giddy, 24 megs. Think about that next time you're spending several hours downloading that 9 gigabit Assassin's Creed game. We had 24 megs back in the day and we liked it. What's next? Them getting cell phones that can have email and text and have it bother you in the movie theater? Actually, old fart, we do have those. And they're everywhere. In the movie theater? They say they can no longer allow me in if I have a hammer. They say it scares away too many customers when I break their cell phones because they bother me during the movie. Wow, some things really were better in the 90s. Well, Old Fart has one good point about the game, and that is we only had 24 megs back in the day. To give you an idea how small that is, my average video render is usually around 400 megs when I upload. So the average YouTube video about Super Metroid takes up way more data than the actual game itself. And 24 megs still gave us giant monstrosity bosses like this. Overall, the game's gorgeous and it still holds up after all these years. Even though it's a 2D platformer, it looks really great. 20 years later. Not many games can say that. The sound in this game is also superb, taking a lot of NES tracks and remaking them for the 16-bit era. Just listen to Ridley's theme here. The music is just excellent. The sound effects are just excellent. So yeah. The music's perfect, and it goes beautifully with the graphics. Like I said, one of the best looking and sounding games on the Super Nintendo by far. Now onto the gameplay, which is superb. Now if you've never played a Metroid game, and I've met people who haven't, who ask me if it's just a shooter. When people compare games to Metroid, they're not talking about shooters. Castlevania games, several of them which have been compared to Metroid, aren't shooters. What qualifies as a Metroid game is usually it's 2D and usually allows you to explore around a map. The only thing that will keep you from getting into other areas is finding the right item. You might get to an area where you can't reach, so you'll have to go look for high jump boots, and once you get the high jump boots you can get to that area, and getting into that new area might get you the Varia suit, which will allow you to go into hot areas. It's a really great gameplay setup. One that works well with the Super Nintendo because the maze is now really unique. The reason why I didn't like the NES version was, number one, there was no map, which wouldn't be too bad, but then all the rooms also kind of repeated each other, so it was just hard to figure out where you were in the world. Not a problem with Super Metroid. Nintendo also gave us a whole lot more new weapons and toys to find. One of them is the Super Missile, which is super strong and can open green doors. Another fun toy is the grappling hook, which can be used to swing across large chasms. It can be tricky to use, but it's pretty fun. And finally, there's also the charge beam, which allows you to charge up your shots and to do more damage. It can also be used to do a smaller version of the screw attack. Again, all these are really cool items you can acquire on your journey. There's more, but I won't ruin them for you. As for the bosses, they're big, they're huge, and they're super easy to defeat. Still, I have to give this game props for one of the mini bosses, which is this kind of like sumo wrestling fight where I have to either knock this guy into the pit before he pushes me into a wall of lethal spikes. And just look at the way this guy goes. It was pretty much the most graphic death in a Nintendo game, at least until New Super Mario Bros. Because Bowser pretty much does the same thing in that game. Like I said, the boss fights are easy, but they're cool, and there's plenty of them that have clever little ways that you have to use to defeat them. The only hard one is Ridley. This guy's kinda hard and cheap. He's quick, he's fast, he takes forever to put down. There's no real easy way around him like some of the other bosses. So yeah, you're kinda stuck dodging and trying to hit him without dying. And usually I do lose a few lives to him. This time around I managed to beat him on my first try, but usually I die 2 or 3 times before I beat him, but the rest of the bosses are cinch. And speaking about dying in this game, when you do, I have to say it's the best death animation ever. Every video game should have a woman coming out in a swimsuit when you die. No, wait, that last one still sucks. My one and only real big complaint about this game comes with this area here. If you see that energy tank and fall into this trap, do not, I repeat, do not save here unless you got the space jump ability. Otherwise, you'll be screwed. This whole area here is supposed to show you one of the hidden techniques in this game called wall jump. However, it's hard to do, and you can get stuck there easily. Watch. As you can see, I can't really do it all that well. It's a hard technique to master, and making you stuck in an area to learn it is kind of unfair. You don't have to go into this area, and I recommend if you get stuck here to reset the game without saving. If you're on the Wii U Virtual Console, you can of course always load backups. So, be careful of that area. It's my one complaint, and it's a small one overall. I give Super Metroid a 5 out of 5. It's a really great game, worth all its praise. Deserves to be on those top 10 Super Nintendo games lists. The only bad side would be, like I said, that one room that's completely avoidable. So, yeah, close to as perfect as you can get for a game. It's $8 on the Wii's Virtual Console. It's also available for the Wii U at the same price. If you own an original Wii, you will need a GameCube controller or a classic controller add-on to your Wii remote in order to play this game, but it's well worth the money. Like I said, classic, instant classic, great game, buy it. And I'm not someone who says all Metroid games are good. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Metroid the Other M, the original Metroid, and Metroid Fusion are games I wouldn't recommend to people, but Super Metroid is. So, yeah, get it. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment too if you've ever played this game and feel like you want to tell me about it. I like to hear from people who watch my videos. Thank you.